Good day, everyone. For today, I will be discussing the next topic, which is on the cardiovascular system. So, before we start with the topic, let's try to dissect first what is the meaning of this cardiovascular system here. Okay, so let's have two words here. We have the cardio, and then we have the vascular. So in terms of cardio, meaning to say that pertains to the heart. And then when it comes to vascular, it usually relates now to the blood vessel. So what are the different blood vessels? So we have yung mga arteries, yung mga capillaries, yung mga veins, yung mga yon. Okay? So in terms of cardiovascular system, cardio means or it pertains to the heart, and then vascular, it relates now to the blood vessels. Okay, so let's have here two main terms na ginagamit in terms of the cardiovascular system. We have the cardiology and then we have the hematology. So in terms of cardiology, it usually deals now doon sa study and treatment ng mga cardiovascular issues sa mga farm animals natin. Most specifically sa heart mismo. Okay? Sa heart and blood vessels ng mga various species natin. So, yung mga cardiologists natin, they usually diagnose and treat conditions related sa animal's heart, such as yung mga like for example, if there is a congenital heart defects, heart diseases, mga ganun, or cardiac arrest, mga ganun. So, cardiology, it usually pertains with that one. Now, for the hematology naman, it focuses now on the study of blood and blood-related disorders sa mga animals natin. So, dito naman, yung mga scientists natin, they usually include here yung examination ng mga blood cells natin, yung mga blood plasma, yung components ng blood like yung mga red blood cells, yung mga white blood cells, yung mga platelets, okay, yung mga clotting factors ng different animal species. So yung mga yon. So dito naman, yung mga hematologists naman, they diagnose and at the same time, they manage conditions that usually pertains to the blood and blood-related disorder of our animals. Like for example, if there is a bleeding disorder, okay, merong blood-borne diseases, merong anemia, okay? So yun naman yung fino-focus ng hematology. Okay? So pag cardiology, it usually deals with the heart and blood vessels. Pag hematology naman, it is for the blood and blood-related disorders. So let's have here the different functions of the cardiovascular system. First is distribute the blood throughout the body. Okay, so yung pinaka-primary function daw ng cardiovascular system is mag-distribute ng blood throughout the body. So nagpapump ito ng oxygenated blood from the heart, most specifically sa left ventricle, although I will be discussing that one later on. It pumps yung oxygenated blood from the left ventricle or from the heart in general sa various tissues and organs throughout the body para ma-ensure na yung mga cells sa lahat ng katawan ng animal, they will receive the necessary nutrients and oxygen for their metabolic activities. Okay? So, ano ba yung dinidistribute? Okay, nagdi-distribute to ng blood, pero ano yung content, no? Ano yung content ngayon ng blood mismo? So in addition to the oxygen na transport ng mga blood natin, most specifically yung mga red blood cells with the iron conjugated protein which is the hemoglobin, okay? Yung cardiovascular system, it transports yung mga essential nutrients. Like for example, yung galing from digestion, no? From your nutrition, yung galing sa digestion, like for example, na-breakdown na si carbohydrates from starch to glucose, yung proteins natin from mismong complex protein into peptides and amino acids, mga ganon, or sa mga lipids naman, from that one into fatty acids and glycerol. So yung mga yon, yung mga nutrients na glucose, yung amino acids, yung mga fatty acids, okay? So from the digestive system, it will be transported to various tissues and cells para makapag-provide ng necessary energy and building block for functions of the cells. Okay? So that is number 1. Then number 2, removal of wastes, no? So along with the delivery ngayon ng oxygen and nutrients kanina, yung cardiovascular system, it is also responsible in collecting, no? In collecting yung carbon dioxide and any metabolic waste products na na-generate from the metabolism of the cells. Okay? And then it will be transported them sa organ wherein it is responsible for elimination, which is yung for the carbon dioxide from in the lungs, and then kidneys naman sa mga metabolic waste. Then number 3, mounting immune responses to infection. So yung blood mismo, more specifically yung, alam naman na ninyo to, more specifically yung white blood cells natin, they are very crucial component ng blood in terms of the immune system. Kasi sila yung tumutulong na mag-identify and at the same time makipaglaban, okay, they fight off yung mga infections and pathogens when they enter the body. Aids in regulating body temperature. So yung blood mismo, tumutulong naman to sa pag-regulate ng body temperature by redistributing yung heat na na-produce by the metabolic processes. So when the body temperature rises, yung blood vessels natin, it usually dilate para makapag-facilitate ng heat dissipation. And pag bumaba naman ito, yung mga blood vessels, they usually constrict para makapag-conserve naman ng heat. And then carries oxygen and carbon dioxide that is already being discussed kanina. And then carries hormones. No? Yung galing naman sa mga endocrine system natin, hindi ito hindi ito magfa-function without the aid of the blood ngayon, which usually carry yung hormones from or that are being produced by the endocrine glands natin. Okay? So they will be transported through the bloodstream into the target organs and tissues para makapag-regulate ng mga various physiological processes. So ano yung example? Like for example, in terms of pituitary gland, yung anterior pituitary gland, like for example, the follicle stimulating hormone, and then we have the luteinizing hormone. So it will be produced there from the anterior pituitary gland, and then it will stimulate now yung mismong ovaries and then mismong testes para makapag-produce naman itong mga organs na to ng hormones, which are the estrogen and progesterone, and then sa lalaki naman it is the testosterone. So parang ganun lang, one example lang nun. And then last one, blood clotting. So ito na yung for the platelets. So if a blood vessel is injured, so yung body mismo magbubuo ngayon ng clot para ma-seal yung wound and para ma-prevent yung blood losses. Okay, then next one, we have the anatomy of the heart. So it consists of pericardium as well as its 3 layers, the epicardium, myocardium, and then the endocardium. So yung pinaka-outer layer nito, yung doubled na wall sac na nag-encase and nagpro-protect sa heart, yung pinaka-outer layer, we call that one as the pericardium. Okay? Now, in terms of the heart layers, first one, we have etong epicardium. So this is the outermost layer, okay, that usually covers now yung surface area ng heart mismo. So kung outermost layer si epicardium, mas outermost layer si pericardium. Kasi siya yung mismong before na meron yung muscle, Okay? Before na meron etong mismong heart na to, yung pinaka-outermost, we have the pericardium. Now, ano yung composition ng epicardium? It's more on the connective tissues and adipose tissues. More on fat tissues to. So ang ginagawa lang nito is nagpro-provide since it is an outermost layer, so nagpro-provide ito ng protective outer layer and nagsesecrete ng lubricating fluid para ma-reduce yung friction during heartbeats. And then next one, we have the myocardium. So beneath the epicardium, we have yung pinaka-thickest. Okay? Yung pinaka-thickest layer ng heart. So ito yung pinaka-thick sa lahat. So ito na yung sinasabi natin na cardiac muscle. Okay? Ito na yung sinasabi natin na cardiac muscle which is responsible now in pumping action ng heart mismo. So syempre, since yung pumping action ngayon, so siya yung nagko-contract forcefully para makapag-pump ng blood throughout the body. And then yung pinaka-last one, yung innermost layer, we have the endocardium. So ito naman is mga endothelial cells, yung composition nito. Or ito is just a type of epithelial tissue and mga connective tissues. Yun nandito. Okay? So since endothelial cells, etong mga to, epithelial tissues, yung mga nandito, so sila naman yung nagpro-provide ng smooth lining para sa mga chambers ng heart, para ma-reduce yung friction habang na nagpapass through yung blood mismo. Okay? Para ma-prevent din, tumutulong din to na ma-prevent yung blood clot formation. Now we have here the four chambers of the heart. We have the left and right atrium, and then we have the left and right ventricle. So let's start first with the right atrium. So ganito yung mangyayari in terms of the blood mismo. Okay? So yung right atrium, this is one of the upper chambers of the heart. Okay? So ang ginagawa nito, siya yung nagre-receive na una. No? Siya yung unang nagre-receive ng deoxygenated blood from the body through yung dalawa na large veins natin. Okay? So yung deoxygenated blood. So ibig sabihin, deoxygenated blood, wala itong oxygen. Okay? Wala itong oxygen. So yung dalawa na veins dito, yung vena cava mismo, okay, in terms of, in a general way, vena cava yung tawag nito. Pero meron kasi tayong dalawang types ng vena cava. We have the superior and then we have the inferior vena cava. So yung superior vena cava, siya yung nagdadala ng blood from the upper part of the body. Okay? So yung deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body of the animal, ang tawag natin sa nagdadala nito, nagkikerry nito, is the superior vena cava. Now for the inferior vena cava, siya naman yung nagdadala ng deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. Okay? So nagko-contract etong right atrium na to para ma-push yung blood through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. Okay? Yung tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. So ang mangyayari dito, si superior vena cava, dadalhin niya ngayon, okay, yung superior and then inferior vena cava, dadalhin niya ngayon yung deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. And then si tricuspid valve naman, siya yung magko-contract, ay si right atrium I should say, siya yung magko-contract para ma-push yung blood through the aid of the tricuspid valve, which is the valve on the right side, pababa dito sa right ventricle. Okay? So ang mangyayari ngayon, after kay right atrium, si right ventricle, siya na yung magre-receive ng deoxygenated blood from the right atrium. Now, ang mangyayari, after na ma-receive ni right ventricle nagko-contract ito para i-pump ngayon yung deoxygenated blood through the pulmonary valve and into the pulmonary artery, which carries now yung blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Okay? So yun yung mangyayari for that one. So after kay dito, right ventricle, with the aid of the pulmonary valve and as well as the pulmonary artery, i-carry na nila ngayon from the right ventricle yung deoxygenated blood, dadalhin nila sa lungs para mabigyan ng oxygen. Okay? So after that one, after yung oxygenation sa lungs, ang mangyayari ngayon is ire-receive ngayon ni left atrium. Okay? Ire-receive ngayon ni left atrium. Magre-receive ito ngayon ng oxygenated blood from the lungs through the 4 pulmonary veins. Okay? Dalawa na pulmonary vein kasi sa bawat lung. So, since dalawa yung lung, so 4 yung pulmonary veins na magdadala ngayon sa left atrium. So, ang mangyayari naman dito, yung dinala ngayon ng mga pulmonary veins na oxygenated blood, magko-contract etong left atrium para ma-push naman yung oxygenated blood through the bicuspid or mitral valve into the left ventricle. Okay? Ang other term ng bicuspid is mitral valve. Now, after kay left atrium, ang mangyayari dito sa left ventricle, kukunin niya ngayon yung oxygenated blood from the left atrium. So ang gagawin naman ni left ventricle, magko-contract ito forcefully para ma-pump yung oxygenated blood through the aortic valve and into the aorta, which now sila na ngayon yung magdi-distribute ng oxygenated blood, oxygen-rich blood into the rest of the body. Okay? So I hope you get it and how the blood from the oxygenated into oxygenated blood will happen into the heart. Okay? So parang in summary ngayon, yung right side ng heart, sila yung nagde-deal or they deal with the oxygenated blood, so receiving it from the body and then it will pump it to the lungs for oxygenation. Okay? And then for the left side of the heart, they deal with the oxygenated blood, receiving it from the lungs, and they will pump it to the rest of the body. So yun yung pinaka-overview ngayon ng right atrium and right ventricle as well as left atrium and left ventricle. Now, meron tayo dito, the atrioventricular valve prevent the backflow of the blood from the ventricle to the atrium during ventricular systole. So parang ano lang to, kung makikita ninyo, prevent the backflow of blood from the ventricle. So eto kanina yung ventricle, dito sa part na to yung ventricle kanina, to the atrium during ventricular systole. So kung papaano yung purpose ng esophagus, okay, in terms of digestion para walang backflow ng kinain, yung ingesta, ganun din dito. So, etong atrioventricular valves, they are usually located between the atria, which is the upper chamber, and then we have the ventricle, which is the lower chamber of the heart. So, ang pinaka-primary function nila is ma-ensure na merong unidirectional flow ng blood para ma-prevent yung backflow from the ventricles to the atrium or to the atria during the contraction of the ventricle or yung tinatawag natin na ventricular systole. Okay? Now, we have here the tricuspid valve. So, I have already discussed naman kung ano yon. So, in terms of ventricular diastole, okay, you will be encountering this one naman later on, yung diastole and systole. Pag diastole, that is relaxation, and then systole, that is contraction. So during ventricular diastole, which is the relaxation part, yung tricuspid valve will be open para ma-allow yung blood na makapag-flow from the right atrium to the right ventricle as the ventricle fills with the oxygenated blood from the right atrium kanina. Okay? Now, in terms of ventricular systole, which is contraction, so as the right ventricle will contract yung mismong na-pump na blood to the pulmonary artery, yung tricuspid valve, it will snap it or it will shut down. Okay? It will shut it para ma-prevent yung blood na mag-backflow into the relaxed na right atrium para ma-ensure na yung the oxygenated blood, it will move forward into the pulmonary circulation. Ano yung pulmonary circulation? That is now the involvement of the lungs. Okay? So yun yung ginagawa ng tricuspid valve. Now for the bicuspid valve, dito sa bandang 2 naman, yung bicuspid valve, ganun din during ventricular diastole naman and ventricular systole. So during ventricular diastole, yung bicuspid valve will be open, okay? They will be open, allowing yung blood to flow from the left atrium to the left ventricle as the left ventricle will fill down yung mismong oxygenated blood. And then during systole naman, ventricular systole or the contraction process, as the left ventricle contracts to pump blood to the aorta, yung bicuspid valve mag-close din. So kung ano yung mangyayari dito sa tricuspid valve, ganun din yung mangyayari sa bicuspid valve para ma-prevent naman yung blood mismo na mag-backflow sa relaxed na left atrium. Okay? Para ma-ensure na yung oxygenated blood will be pumped out to the systemic circulation. Okay? Ang systemic circulation that is now all throughout the systems of the body. Okay? And then next one, we have the aortic valve. So that is situated at the aortic orifice, which is the exit from the left ventricle leading now to the aorta. Okay? Dito na siya. So during ventricular systole or during the contraction process, yung left ventricle, it will contract para ma-pump yung oxygenated blood into the aorta para ma-distribute to the systemic circulation. Okay, that is during ventricular systole. Yun yung isang function ng aortic valve. Now, in terms of the closure during diastole, okay, during diastole, so after contraction process, after systole, when the left ventricle will relax, no, or the ventricular diastole, yung aortic valve, it will close. Okay? Mag-close din yung aortic valve para ma-prevent ulit yung blood na mag-backflow into the relaxed left ventricle from the aorta. Okay? Para ma-maintain yung unidirectional flow ng blood. So parang kung titignan ninyo, all throughout itong mga valves na to, they ensure a unidirectional flow ng blood para walang backflow. Okay? Now for the pulmonary valve naman, ganun lang din. So right ventricle naman to. So during ventricular systole, yung right ventricle kanina, okay, they will contract to pump the oxygenated blood into the pulmonary artery for oxygenation in the lungs. So after contraction, during now, pag nakapag-relax na, okay, pag nakapag-relax na yung mismong right ventricle dito, so yung pulmonary valve, it will close then para ma-prevent yung blood na mag-backflow into the relaxed na right ventricle from the pulmonary artery para ensure na mayroong ding unidirectional flow ng blood towards the lungs for oxygenation. Okay? So I hope you get it and how the blood will from the oxygenation, okay, from the oxygenated with the aid of the right atrium and right ventricle and with the aid of the pulmonary valve and then the aortic valve as well as the tricuspid valve and then into the lungs, and then after oxygenation, it will go into the left atrium and then left ventricle with the aid also with the pulmonary valve and the bicuspid valve. Okay? So I hope you get it during diastole and systole process. So eto na yun naman yung sinasabi ko kanina, we call that one as the cardiac cycle. Okay? Yung cardiac cycle. So yung parang pinaka-summary ngayon ng nangyari dito sa left and right atrium, etong mga four chambers ng heart as well as etong mga valves na to, we call that one as the cardiac cycle. Okay? So ano yung cardiac cycle? It refers to the sequence of events that occurs during one complete heartbeat. So contraction process, so that is the systole. So it refers now to the contraction phase of the cardiac cycle. So during the systole process, yung heart muscle, it will contract para makapag-pump ng blood either into the pulmonary circulation, which is on the right side, or either on the systemic circulation, which is on the left side. Okay? And then diastole naman, that is already on the relaxation phase of the cardiac cycle. Para during diastole, yung heart muscle will relax para ma-allow naman yung chamber to fill with the blood. Okay? So I have already discussed naman to, atrial and ventricular systole. Ito naman for the diastole, para lang maintindihan ninyo, isovolumetric relaxation. So after a ventricular systole, merong brief na isovolumetric relaxation phase wherein all of the four heart valves are temporarily closed. Okay? Para ma-allow yung ventricle na makapag-relax and ma-prevent yung backflow ng blood. Now, meron din tayo dito. We have here the heart sound. I have included here kasi based from the board exam last year, lumabas daw to yung lab-dab na heart sound. So I have included it. So yung first sound, which is the lab sound, okay? So that is a low pitch and a slightly longer sound. So ibig sabihin, it marks the beginning of systole. Specifically now, yung closure ng AV valves, okay? Yung mga tricuspid at saka yung bicuspid valves, okay? So yung closure ngayon ng AV valves, it will occur when the ventricles will contract and yung pressure in the ventricle will rise, causing now the blood to be ejected into the pulmonary artery and aorta. Okay? So yung lab sound, okay, yung lab dub, di ba? Parang ganito kumbaga, yung lab sound ng mismong heart that is associated with the closure of the tricuspid and mitral valves as they prevent yung backflow ng blood into the atria during ventricular contraction. Okay? So that is lub. Now, in terms of the dub sound, which is the second one, which is shorter and higher pitch sound, it marks now the beginning of the diastole and is associated with the closure of the semilunar valves, which are the pulmonary and aortic valves. Okay? So yung closure ng semilunar valves, the pulmonary and aortic valves, it occur when the ventricles will relax and the pressure in the arteries is higher than in the ventricles para ma-prevent yung blood from flowing back into the ventricles. Okay? So yung dub sound naman, it signifies the end of ventricular systole and the beginning of ventricular diastole. Okay? So I hope you get it or you understood it. Okay? You understand well on how the cardiac cycle as well as yung heart sound is all about. Now we have here another topic which is on the blood vessels. So una dito we have the arteries, no? So based lang dito naman sila yung nagke-carry ng oxygenated blood away from the heart. Okay? So yung mga arteries natin, sila yung nagtra-transport ng oxygenated blood from the heart into the various tissues and organs throughout the body. So, meron tayo dito ang aorta. Ang aorta lang dito is this is just the largest artery. Okay? So sila yung pinaka-largest na artery, okay, which branches into smaller arteries which are the arterioles. Okay? Ano yung pinaka-function ng mga arterioles natin? Kasi parang ito yung karamihan na ngayon, yung mga arterioles natin. Number one dito is sila yung responsible sa pag-regulate ng blood flow into the capillaries by adjusting yung mismong diameter nila. Okay? Meron tayong tinatawag na vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Pag sinabi natin na vasoconstriction, that is narrowing. Okay? Narrowing ng mga arterioles. Okay? Vasoconstriction ng mga arterioles will reduce yung blood flow. Okay? While vasodilation increases yung blood flow. Vasodilation, that is widening. So etong mga responses na to ng arterioles are usually controlled ng mga neural signals, ng mga hormone, ng mga influences ng mga hormones, yung mga ganun. Okay? Then another function ng blood ng arterioles natin, sila yung nagre-regulate. Okay? They contribute in the regulation of blood pressure. So yung ability nila na makapag-change ng diameter, it will influence yung resistance ng blood flow, impacting now yung blood pressure within the arterial system. Okay? Then distribution of blood also. So yung mga arterioles, they direct yung blood to specific organs and tissues based on their varying needs for oxygen and nutrients. Okay? And then next one, we have the veins. Sila naman yung nagkikarry ng the oxygenated blood from various tissues and organs of the body back to the heart. So dito na yung tinatawag ko kanina na vena cava, which are yung superior and then inferior vena cava. Okay? So yung mga veins naman natin, these will be branched out, parang ganito lang din sa mga aorta. Okay, ang tawag naman natin dito, we have the venules. Okay? Sila naman yung smaller branches ng veins na nagko-collect ng blood from the capillaries. Okay? So ano yung ginagawa nila? So blood collection from the capillaries. So yung mga venules, nagko-collect sila ng blood sa capillaries, and this will serve as the vessels that transport the oxygenated blood towards the heart. Okay? Parang they will merge together para makapag-form ng larger veins. Ano pa ba? In terms of the venules, sila din yung nagfa-facilitate in the movement of the white blood cells from the bloodstream to the tissues during inflammatory response. Okay? We call that one as the diapedesis. That is DIAPEDESIS, diapedesis. Okay? Wherein yung white blood cells, they will exit the circulation and will migrate sa mga areas na merong infection or injury. And then we have the third blood vessel, we have the capillaries. These are the smallest, no? Kino-consider natin as the smallest and thinnest blood vessels in the circulatory system. Okay? So they connect yung arteries and veins para ma-facilitate yung exchange ng nutrients, ng gases, ng waste products within the blood cells or within the body cells. Okay? So ang ginagawa nila, ina-allow nila for the transfer of oxygen, yung mga nutrients na sinabi ko kanina, and then yung mga gases from the bloodstream to the cells of the body. Okay? So they also facilitate yung removal ng carbon dioxide and metabolic wastes from the cells to the bloodstreams. Now we have another one. We have the blood naman. These are just the thick suspension of cellular elements in an aqueous solution of electrolytes and some non-electrolytes. So definitely, ang nagiging function ng blood ay for transportation, regulation, and even protection. So in transportation, as I have said kanina, sa functions ng cardiovascular system, okay, so nagtra-transport sila ng oxygen and ng carbon dioxide between the lungs and then the tissues, yung mga hormones, okay, yung mga ganun. So those are the functions of the blood. Okay, meron tayong natawag na plasma and then we have the blood cells which comprise with the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and then we have the platelets. So etong mga to are just the other name of these blood cells.